Hey, everybody, we're talking about how to communicate better in long term relationships. This is such a crucial topic because one of the things that really drives people apart, drives people to divorce, drives people to become roommates that are just trying to survive until the kids go to college or leave the house is a lack of understanding each other. And it's amazing how many times we can have partnerships that start as being deeply in love, and then because of communication they just fall completely apart. Now there's many reasons for this, and one of the places to start is understanding your attachment style. So attachment style theories were from about the mid 20th century when these theories came about. And initially these theories came about when researchers were observing kids leaving and kids playing, and the way they would walk away from their parents and come back, and how they would act as they started to explore the world. And so that was what attachment theory was born out of. Much of our attachment theories do come from childhood, but the problem is even though they come from childhood, they actually impact us into adulthood. And so there's several types of attachment theories, but I'm going to talk about the three most common ones here. One is secure attachment, one is avoidant attachment, and the other is anxious attachment. Secure attachment is the ability to feel so secure in our relationships that when small little infractions come up, they don't send us into a tailspin of wondering what it means and is the relationship okay. So let's say if we have partner A and partner B, and let's say partner A says something to partner B in kind of a weird way, and partner B is securely attached. Partner B is going to notice that and just be like, it's okay. Maybe they're having a bad day. I'll check in with them about it later. And they'll be able to go through their day without it meaning a whole lot to them and still check in about it, but not have their nervous system so dysregulated, and understand that whatever happened there, that their partner A is fundamentally a great person, great partner, and they're not going to make a big deal out of it. Now, if it was somebody with a more of an avoidant attachment style, one of the things that would happen in this example is they might see that tone as very condescending, as very hurtful, and rather than saying something, they kind of go into their cave. They might become distant. They might not return texts or calls. And they don't tend to bring it up because they don't have that security to know that things are going to be okay. So they tend to just disappear until enough time passes. Now, an anxious attachment person is going to do the opposite. They're going to start, because they're so anxious about what this means, they might start hyper texting, hyper calling, need to sort it out right now, even though there's 20,000 other things maybe going on in that person's day. So if an avoidant or an anxious attachment style person is in the relationship, it can create a large amount of conflict. It can create situations where these small little infractions, I look at these small little infractions almost like you're in a sailboat, a love boat, right? And with every little infraction, it's like a tiny little nick in your boat. It really is not a big deal. It's not going to sink your love boat. But what will happen over time is if we are continually making these little dents in our boat, eventually, if they are not resolved, it can become a real big problem for the relationship. So when we have these different attachment styles and we're not effectively cleaning up and fixing these small little things, eventually they lead to this huge component of feeling very distant from our partner because of all of these nicks in our love boat. And so really one of the things we want to do with this is we want to start working and recognizing if we have one of these attachment styles. One of my favorite things about this is I used to feel, and because a lot of it's taught in, I feel like, the self-development and growth theories out there, is that you have to be whole and you have to fix yourself before you are in a healthy relationship. And so a lot of times people try to fix this on their own. But I was working with a therapist a couple decades ago who really said something that changed my mind on this entirely, which was, if the problem is related to a relationship scenario, it actually is fixed in a relationship, not when you're single. So says avoidant and an anxious attachment styles tend to be out of interrelational types of experiences, the best way to actually heal them is when we're in a relationship. Many times people do go to therapy to help them with these types of scenarios. However, the more we bring this up to awareness to our partner, the more we can make certain requests for our partner to help to repattern this for us. So, for example, if an anxious attachment person is with a secure attachment person, they might bring this up and talk about how they're trying to repattern this, and then ask their partner for to say something like, "Hey, I'm not sure about something that was said earlier. I need some reassurance that we're okay." And the secure partner, knowing this, hopefully will say something like, "Yes, babe, I'm super busy. I will process anything you need to with later, but you and I are so good. I love you so much. I'm not going anywhere." Right? And so that can oftentimes settle that anxious person down so they become less anxious. For the avoidant person, maybe it is they have some sort of request where if the avoidant person goes into a cave, maybe before they do that, maybe they say something to their partner and say something like, "Well, I need to take some moment to process this, but I love you. I'm not going anywhere. Here's when I think I will emerge from my cave," and actually name what's happening, assure their partner they're still there, so their partner doesn't feel like they are just being abandoned. So that's how we can work with some of those things. But it's super important with communication that the other thing I really find is that daily check-ins are really important. 5 minutes a day. And if you're, listening to this and you're saying, "Well, I don't have 5 minutes a day for a daily check-in," then honestly, I think that's part of the relationship problem, because one of the things that happens oftentimes is we say that our partner is one of our primary priorities, but we actually stop giving them space in our life. And the idea of a 5-minute check-in every day is to say, "Hey, a couple things. One, is there anything that has happened today that we need to clear the air about?" So we fix things when there's small little gashes in the boat. But the other thing that really helps in these 5-minute check-ins is actually to say 3 things that you value about the other person from that day, and try to make them different every day. So, if it was something simple as somebody coming home from dinner on time, or somebody helping with the dishes, or somebody taking out the trash, or that look that they gave you across the room, or how they dressed and they were so beautiful today, whatever it is. But we're really looking to build that love bank up. Theories have been shown that if we have less than 5 good things for every 1 bad thing, so if that ratio gets skewed, then our relationship was heading typically for divorce. So many times in relationship, it turns from love into logistics, where everything that people are talking about are the logistics of the home, the kids, the family, etc. And we actually forget to show appreciation. And then when something goes wrong in the logistics, then we bring it up. And so it can really wear down the relationship and make each individual feel like they're not appreciated. And that's a huge driver of what can drive people apart. So I would invite you to talk to your partner about 5 minutes a day. And just first, before you bring up even anything you want to change, just first start on building up that bubble, or that jar, that love jar. And that love jar is full with all of the things you're grateful for, all the things you love and appreciate about that person, so that bank is so full. So when you do bring up things that you want to bring up, which are important about the nicks in the boat, you are building it up from a place where the relationship jar feels of excess and not deficiency. So thank you so much for listening. Please do subscribe to this channel because there's more coming out like this, and I don't want you to miss any, and we'll see you again soon.